The Netherlands and Denmark have agreed to supply F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine to boost its counteroffensive against Russia. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte says his country will deliver the aircraft once the conditions are right. Zelenskyy also met with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen. The two leaders posed in the cockpit of an F-16. Denmark says it hopes to provide 6 fighter jets. It's not yet clear how many will come from the Netherlands. Ukraine has long been asking its Western allies for the US-made fighter jet. Zelenskyy says the aircraft will provide a combat edge to drive back the Russian invasion.
The F-16 fighter originated in the Cold War, but still functions as a modern combat aircraft. The jet can engage enemy aircraft and targets on the ground. The F-16 entered service with the US Air Force in 1980. More than 4,600 have been produced, making it one of the most successful military aircraft ever built. To this day, it remains the backbone of many NATO and allied air forces around the world. Denmark and the Netherlands are phasing out their aging F-16s and replacing them with the brand new F-35. Some Danish and Dutch F-16s saw extensive combat in Afghanistan. It is likely that the airframes being supplied to Ukraine will be quite old and need a lot of maintenance to stay in the air. Training pilots and maintenance staff will be the big challenge for Ukraine. How the F-16 will actually impact Kiev's war effort will depend on the weapons supplied with the jets. Ukraine will be hoping to receive modern weapons such as the US AMRAAM air-to-air missile, which can shoot down enemy aircraft up to 180 kilometers away. But these have yet to be approved and could be deemed too sensitive to fall into Russian hands.
Well, DW correspondent and NATO expert Terry Schultz is in Brussels and with us now. Terry, President Zelenskyy has spent months asking for fighter jets without getting them. What changed?
Well, Anthony, the one thing we know didn't change is President Zelenskyy's position and his tenacity on just hammering NATO leaders to provide him with these weapons. We saw this happen with tanks, as you'll remember, that he was told he would never get them. He was told he would never get F-16s and other fighter jets of that caliber. And here they are being ready to be dispatched. So I think that it's just one more example of how Zelenskyy goes into meetings with these leaders. He's made a big effort to meet them in person, as you've seen. He's just traveled to Sweden, Denmark, and now the Netherlands. And he explains to them what a difference it would make on the ground. And I've been told that in these meetings, he's very calm, he's very deliberate, he comes with facts, he doesn't get emotional. And they call it the Zelenskyy effect. He walks out and minds are changed. And we've just seen that happen again.
Terry, do we take from this that escalation, that word we heard so much about in the war, is no longer an issue for NATO countries then?
It still is an issue, and with many of these heavy weapon systems, the Allies have asked Ukraine to promise, to pledge, not to use these weapons in Russian territory. So they may not cross into Russian territory with these jets, with the tanks, with some other of the missiles, and they're not allowed to directly target Russia, giving Russia an excuse to say NATO is now at war with Moscow. So the fact that we've seen these decisions continue to be made means that these governments believe the Ukrainians are keeping their word. It does remain an issue. Certainly we'll see statements out of Moscow, if they haven't happened already, saying that now NATO is again, launching war, escalating war on Moscow. But I think that as we've seen the Russians continue their just relentless assault, not just on Ukraine's military, but on civilians and on the infrastructure of the country, that simply the leaders who are helping Ukraine understand that Ukraine needs more assistance and that perhaps everything they've put into the war so far could be lost if they don't really help the Ukrainians get over this edge.
So we have the decision, it's a big one. Do we have any more details though, Terry, on the deal itself?
It's not exactly clear how many fighter jets and when they'd be going. The Netherlands says it has 42 of these jets, but that's in total. They need to keep some of them for their own defense. Denmark has 19, and I've seen differing reports, including some coming from President Zelenskyy, about how many will be coming from these two countries. So we don't know exactly how many. We do know that they have to wait until the pilots are well trained, until they can repair the jets, until they've got the facilities on the ground to manage the jets. And those things are underway. Ukrainian pilots are being trained right now. These two countries, Denmark and the Netherlands, are also asking other countries to join this coalition. We know that Sweden is looking at perhaps providing some Gripen fighter jets. So you will see more countries come into this coalition, which they sometimes call the Bird Coalition, here at NATO headquarters. And that's exactly what President Zelenskyy is hoping for, Anthony.
DW correspondent Terry Schultz in Brussels, thank you so much.